On this map, folks, my hometown is outlined on here. I'm of Gullah Geechee descent. Born in a small town called Beaufort, second oldest city in the state after Charleston. Now, how many of you heard of Beaufort before? Okay, it's a good number. I asked that question because when I've said that in my presentation before, invariably, someone comes up to me afterwards and says, "Man, if you're from Beaufort, you must be a Marine." I'm not. The story about Beaufort is, folks, that in Beaufort, a place called the Paris Island Marine Depot, for the last 112 years, they've introduced Marines east of the Mississippi. And to this very day, they still recruit and produce every year about 12,000 Marines. Now, I'm not a Marine, folks, but I am Gullah Geechee. Now, I'm going to go back to Mr. McLeod, who was there on this plantation. He did really well and was doing well. But then things changed, market changed. And people began to say, there's something going on James Island. What was going on James Island? The fact that there were 10 to 12 cotton plantations making a lot of money. King Cotton had arrived. Initially, Mr. McLeod was sort of reticent about doing it, but he finally said, well, I think I'm gonna go plant some cotton. So he sold his property there 30 miles away, came here. Coincidentally, there was a Parker family that had been here for 100 years that had decided to leave. What they put up for sale was 1,700 acres of land. Most of the buildings you see here that's been refurbished and rebuilt. The house was here. The gin house behind me was here. A stable on the other side with 45 animals was here. A deep water dock down there where he shipped his products downtown. All of that, along with 90 enslaved people, Mr. McLeod purchased for $11,500. The equivalency of that would be today about $350,000, maybe $400,000. Still a bargain, because when we purchased this property 7 years ago of 50 acres, we paid $2.8 million for it. What a difference.
I'm sorry, what year did he purchase for that $11,000? What year was that?
1852. Yes. Now, Mr. McLeod was very pleased with what he bought. He had 1,700 acres of property, and now he could plant cotton. When you plant cotton, you need acreage. You can't plant cotton in the same location every year. Does not give you any advantage. So I'll show you what he purchased. All within the blue circle there, the blue lines, that's his 1,700 acres of property. And so he's very pleased with that, because now all that acreage, he can now plant peas, corn, potatoes, and he could rotate his cotton crops as much as he could to keep it going. Mr. McLeod did very well this first couple of years. He would produce annually about 2,200 tons of cotton. And he did well. He began to build a good foundation for himself financially. Now, you've heard me talk about the wealth of Charleston. Now, I did not put Mr. McLeod in the wealthy class at the time, even though he was doing very well. But the wealthy people of Charleston, exceptional. The wealthy people of Charleston would not only have a house like this on the island, but they'd stay maybe 2, maybe 3 months out of the year. The wealthy people of Charleston, folks, they're in a place called the Battery, palatial homes. Palatial homes, exceptional homes. Homes down there in Charleston, now folks, they're listing between $5 million up to $40, $50 million. The homes down there, the buildings down there, the churches down there, all built by enslaved labor, carpenters, bricklayers, artisans. These homes go back well over 100 years in some families, down by the Battery. But let me give you a little more additional information about Charleston. Last 10 to 12 years, maybe longer, companies have come to Charleston and have expanded. You all know these companies. Boeing, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Volvo Cars, Bosch Industries, and have expanded. At the same time, the tourism business of the Charleston city decided they want to do things to attract people to come to Charleston. They've done well too, because in the last 5 years, we're going to give some rankings. Charleston's been either number 1, number 2, number 3 top touring city in the world. I'm glad you're all here today too. Now, the wealth of Charleston folks resides here and is still here. Changing topics on you a little bit. When you get back to your laptops, put in the little browser there, Sea Island cotton. As it was 200 years ago, as it is this very day, the finest cotton grown in the United States.
S-E-A?
Long, strong.
S-E-A?
S-E-A. Yeah, Sea Island cotton. Long, strong, durable fibers. Very, very expensive. 4 to 5 times more valuable than other cotton. You're going to go online today and order a t-shirt from the top retailer in the country. You can do that. You just have to attach a check for $200 when you send it in. Check it out. Sea Island cotton. My dad had a small cotton farm, 60 miles from home when I was growing up. And when he went to pick cotton, he would hire people to come and pick cotton for him. He also had 3 little boys who were supposed to help him. I was one of them. I did not like picking cotton, folks. Tedious in the hot weather. Bending over. Using gloves to pick it so we get pricked. Tedious work. My dad's cotton would grow maybe knee-high, even perhaps thigh-high. Sea Island cotton, folks, grew differently. Sea Island cotton would grow 8 to 10 feet tall. Exceptional growth, prolific growth, high yields, multiple yields. There's a reason for that, folks. The reason for that growth of cotton had to do with the methods that the African slaves brought here. One of the methods, key methods, was to come down and go along the seashore, and they would put in buckets. Pluff mud. What's pluff mud? Pluff mud is decaying seaweeds, which had a hidden fertilizer nutrient in them. Plant that along with animal manure, results about 8 to 10 feet cotton. 80% of the cotton on this island, folks, on 16 plantations, went to Europe. 20% went to manufacturers in the northern part of the country. Exceptional growth. And of course, McLeod, who did very well the first couple of years, he, like all the other 15 plantations, would bring the cotton to their gin house. Everyone had a gin house. And up on the second floor would be the machine that you saw in the reception area that would de-seed that cotton, pull the seeds out of the cotton. So you can compress the cotton down in the flat beds and put them in 400-pound bales. There's an illustration of how they did that. 400-pound bales, bring from the second floor, put on the first floor, 400-pound bales, and of course, it required 2 to 3 people to put that on the wagon to take down to the water. Okay, I'm going to pause right now before we move to my second spot. But I want to encourage you, after I'm through in about 25 minutes, if you haven't yet, please check out the house. When you go in the house, you'll be walking on floors of 1850s. Pine wood floors. Also keep in mind that as you approach this house, what you're looking at used to be the back of the house. The early 1920s, Mr. McLeod found out that the value of some of his products were going downward. He said, well, I've got to do something about enhancing the value of my house, but also getting some income coming in here. What does he do? Goes into a year and a half renovations. He starts out by adding a porch to the back of the house. After getting that established, he goes and he shops for Georgian architectural columns, which give you the sense of colonialism, antebellum. He adds concrete to the front of the steps and also in the porch. He adds on a kitchen to the left-hand side of the house. He secures live oak seedlings, which are very indigenous for this area. Plants them so these trees are well over 100 years old to sort of give a framework as it approaches the house, building a frame. And after about 14 or 15 months of doing that, what is his final step, folks? He charges you to come see it. Income.
Even back then?
The practice of showing folks homes in Charleston and paying for it was prominent in the 1880s. This was 1920s he was doing this.
Wow.
The low white house there, that's a dairy house. People produce well over 600 pounds of dairy products every year for merchants downtown. The double chimney house used to be the kitchen. Kitchens were separated from homes then because of fear of fire and smoke. So folks, after I'm through about 25 minutes, please feel free to go walk through the house. You can go to the house through this door here, if you wish, or you can go on the other side and walk into the original front door on the other side.